So this is 2018 paper 1 and this is question 7. So here we have part of the seating arrangement in a theatre shown in the diagram below. There are seats arranged in rows, and then row 1 is nearest to the stage and has 28 seats. Each subsequent row behind that contains one more seat. So row 2 has 9 seats, row 3 has 30 seats, and so on. So we know that 1 has 28, we know that 2 has 29, 3 has 30, and so on. So find the number of seats in row 10. That means that 4 has 31, 5 has 32, then 6 has 33, 7 has 34, 8 has 35, then 9 has 36. So that means that row 10 has 37. So we can already see that this is a linear sequence. There are 50 seats in the last row. How many rows of seats are there in the theatre? So we can keep going if we want, if we prefer to do that. Or what we can do is find the general term-to-term rule. So the term-to-term rule is Tn is equal to A plus n minus 1 by D. So the first term here is 28. And the difference here is 1. So that means that our term-to-term rule is 28 plus 1 times n is n, and then 1 times minus 1 is minus 1. So that means that it's equal to 27 plus n, because 28 minus 1 is 27. So what I can do here is I can make this formula equal to the amount of seats, which is 50. And then just to find the amount of seats that will be in 50 will be n is equal to 50 minus 27, which would give me 23. So that means in row 23, I'll have 50 seats. What you could have done is just carried on and continued on with this pattern that you started and just find all the way to 50 and see what number of row that gives you. So part 1 there was 5 marks, part 2 here is 10 marks. For part C, find the total number of seats in the theatre. So what they're asking you to do is try and find out the total number of seats in the theatre. So we know that there are 23 rows because we found that in the last row there's 50 seats. So I'm trying to find the S of 23. So that's the sum formula. So in your formula tables, it's n over 2 bracket 2a plus n minus 1 by d. So I'm just going to sub in the information. So I'm going to try and find the S of 23. Put 23 over 2. And then do 2 times the first term, which is 28, plus 23 by 1. Sorry, 23 minus 1 times 1, which is the difference. And then it's just a case of putting that into your calculator. When you put that into your calculator, you end up with 897 seats. So in the first 23 rows, which is how many rows there are altogether, that means that there's 897 seats. So that is 10 marks. Okay, so on a particular night, 600 are at a show in a theatre, and assume that people are seated only in rows close to the stage. They have filled the first n rows, and then there are some people seated in the next row. So find the value of n and find the number of people seated in the next row. So first thing you're going to have to do is find the value of n. The only way you're going to find it is because you know that's 600 people, so that is the sum. So you're going to have to use the sum formula. So that's n over 2 bracket 2a plus n minus 1 by d. So then we're going to sub in our information here. So n remains the same over 2 times the first term, which is 28, plus n minus 1 by the difference, which is 1. And we're going to make it equal to 600. So that's n over 2. We're going to simplify the bracket. 2 times 28 is 56. 1 by n is n. 1 by minus 1 is minus 1. So then what we have to do next is we have to simplify. So we have n over 2 bracket 56 minus 1 is 55 plus n equals to 600. So the next thing we're going to do is multiply n by 55 plus n. So then that gives you 55n plus n by n is n squared over 2, because 2 times 1 equals to 600. So that gives you 55n plus n squared equals to 600 by 2, which is 1200. Then you want to just rearrange the formulas to make it quadratic. So n squared plus 55n minus 1200. So what you're going to have to do then is use the minus b formula, because it's going to be very hard to know the factors of 1200. So the minus b formula is minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So you're going to sub in a is 1, b is 55, and c is minus 1200. So when you put that into your calculator, you'll get two values for n. So the first value for n that you'll get is 16.7. When you put in your second value, it'll give you minus 71.7. So you can't have a minus term, so it means that you're going to use a 16, and 16 is going to represent the number of rows. So then, to find out how many people that is in the first 16 rows, we're going to have to find the S of 16. So 16 over 2, bracket 2 times 28, plus 16 minus 1 by 1. Put that into your calculator and you get 568. So the number of people in the next row, well, you're going to have to do 600 minus the 568, which will give you 32 people. So that's the 32 people in the next row. So that gives you a total of 10 marks. For part E then, for a particular show, adult tickets cost €25 each and children's tickets cost €12 each. Find the total income from the ticket sales if 276 adults were sold and 212 children tickets were sold. So we're going to have to multiply the price of the adults by how many there were, so 206 by 25, and then we're going to multiply 212 by the price of the kids, which is 12, and we're going to put that into our calculator, add them together, and you get 9,444. So that gives you 5 marks. For part 2 then, we are asked for a different show. 552 tickets were sold. The ratio of adult tickets sold to children tickets is 3:1. So that means adult to children. So find how many adult tickets and how many children tickets were sold in that show. So what we need to do here is we need to add up the amount of parts. So we add 3, add 1, so there's 4 parts altogether. And then we divide that into the 752 to see how many people each part is. And each part gives you 188 people. That is one part. So if they're asking you how many adults, you're going to do 3 times 188, which equals 564. So that's the amount of adults. And then to get the amount of children, that's just 1 times 188, which is 188, and that's 188. Just add them up to make sure that they add up to 752, and you'll know you're right. For part 2 then, so for the show referred to in part 1, an adult ticket costs 2.5 times as much as children's ticket. So the income was 17,578. Find the total cost of children's ticket for the show. So we know an adult ticket costs 2.5 times as much as a child ticket. So a child ticket is 188 because that's the amount of tickets. We don't know how much they are. And then we have the amount of adults, which was 564, and we know that that's 2.5 times whatever x is. So in other words, x is the children and 2.5x is the adults. So when we add those two together, we should get a total of 17,578. So what I'm going to do there is simplify it. So that's 188x plus 564 by 2.5, which is 1410x, which is equal to 1578. So what we're going to do now is add these two together. So that's 1598x equals to 17,578. So then to find the value of x, we're just going to divide that by 1598, and that will tell us the price of a child ticket, which is €11. If you're asked for the price of an adult ticket, then just multiply 11 by 2.5, but you're not asked to do that. So that is 10 marks for that part there.